God Emperor of Dune Dune Series 4 by Frank Herbert. The Heist of Arrakis. In the shadowy dunes of Arrakis, under a blanket of stars, Sayona crouched low, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. She was clad in a disguise, a simple robe of an energy worker, her face obscured by a hood. Beside her, Ulat and Kuteg, her only remaining companions, shared a silent nod of understanding. They were about to embark on a heist that could change the course of history. "Remember, we only have a short window between the shifts to get in and out," Sayona whispered, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of the D-Wolves, the monstrous guardians of the god Emperor Leto II. Ulat, ever the thinker, adjusted his glasses and peered at the sealed packet in his hands. "These plans are our key. Once we're inside, we follow the layout to the letter." Kuteg, nursing his injured knee, gave a grim smile. "Let's not keep destiny waiting, then." They moved swiftly, using the labyrinthine chambers of the fortress to their advantage, slipping past guards and avoiding the wand devices that monitored the corridors. The meeting room was close now, and with it, the information they needed to undermine Leto's regime. As they entered the room, Sayona's fingers danced over the data terminal, extracting the details of the secret agreement between Ix and the Guild. "Got it," she breathed, the mechanical amplifier of spice now a weapon in their arsenal. But their escape was not to be easy. The howls of the D-Wolves echoed through the chambers, and Ulat pushed Sayona towards the exit. "Go! I'll hold them off!" Siona's eyes met Ulat's, a silent thank you passing between them before she turned and ran. Behind her, Ulat's analytical mind worked one last time, deciphering a cipher that would prove crucial, even as the D-Wolves descended upon him. Kuteg, limping and desperate, fought valiantly, using one of the fallen wolves as a shield, buying Sayona precious seconds. "For freedom," he cried, his voice lost in the chaos. Sayona burst into the open, the stolen information clutched to her chest, the sacrifices of her friends fueling her flight. She knew now the vulnerabilities of Leto's regime, the cracks in his armor that they could exploit. And as she disappeared into the night, a new chapter in the rebellion began, one that would test the very foundations of the God Emperor's power. The God Emperor's Gambit. In the heart of the God Emperor's citadel, Moneo paced, his thoughts a whirlwind of duty. The dimly lit chamber with its ancient stone walls felt more like a prison than the center of power it was. He stopped before a massive ornate door, behind which his master Leto II conducted his mysterious affairs. Sayona, his daughter, was out there somewhere. Her rebellious spirit a stark contrast to the order Leto sought to impose. She had become a crucial part of Leto's grand plan, the Golden Path, a vision to ensure humanity's long-term survival and evolution. Topri, his trusted agent within Sayona's ranks, contacted him. "She's planning something big, Moneo. Something that could shake the very foundations of the Empire." Topri's voice was urgent. "Keep me informed, Topri. Her well-being is paramount," Moneo responded, his voice steady. As he ended the call, the ornate door creaked open and Leto II emerged, his presence as commanding as ever. "You worry too much, my faithful major domo. Sayona is strong, capable. She will play her part." Moneo bowed his head. "But at what cost, my lord?" "The cost is necessary, Moneo. The future of humanity is at stake. Your daughter will be remembered as a hero," Leto assured him. "And what of the present, my lord?" "The present is but a moment, Moneo. It is the future we must secure. Trust in the path I have laid out for us all," Leto said, gazing out the window at the sprawling dunes of Arrakis. Leto left the chamber, and Moneo was alone with his thoughts. The majordomo knew that the gambit was set, the pieces moving on the board of destiny. Sayona, his fiery daughter, was one such piece, and he could only hope for the salvation Leto promised. Outside, the winds of Rakis whispered across the sands, carrying with them the echoes of change and the murmurs of a future yet to be written. The tyranny of the sandworm. In the heart of Arrakis, Leto II, the God Emperor, orchestrated the future with a prescient vision. His latest decree, a mandate to increase spice production, promised to alter the course of history. Duncan Idaho, the ever-reincarnated Gola, now stood before Leto, his loyalty unwavering, yet his mind clouded with doubt. "My lord," he began, "the people grow restless under your edicts." Leto, whose eyes held millennia, replied, "They fail to grasp the necessity of my actions, Duncan. The path I carve through time is for their salvation, not subjugation." From the shadows, Muneo observed, his duty to Leto clashing with his love for his rebellious daughter, Siona Darden. "Sire," he ventured, "your strategies, they border on oppression." "Oppression is a matter of perspective," Leto retorted. "I offer not chains, but the framework for our species' endurance." Deep within the citadel, Siona conspired with Nayla, her resolve as fierce as the desert storm. "We must rise above the fear he instills," she implored. "Leto's foresight is not infallible. Our will is our own." As dusk embraced Arrakis, a new figure emerged from the ranks of Leto's guard. A spy, cloaked in secrecy, whose allegiance lay with the rebellion. This silent watcher held the key to a clandestine network that could one day topple an empire. Meanwhile, Nayla, the stalwart fish speaker, grappled with a secret of her own. Her lineage, unbeknownst to all, traced back to a forgotten sietch where whispers of an ancient technology capable of neutralizing the spice's potency had long been buried. The threads of fate intertwined as Leto, Muneo, and Siona each played their part in the grand tapestry of Arrakis. The rebellion, now infused with new hope, stood on the precipice of change, ready to challenge the tyranny of the sandworm. The rebellion's spark. In the shadowed corridors of the citadel, Siona Atreides moved with silent determination as she approached the chamber where the God Emperor's most guarded secrets were kept. The distant, rhythmic thumping of the sandworms echoed through the stone walls. "Are you sure about this?" whispered Nayla, her loyal companion. Siona turned to her, eyes fierce. "We have no choice." Together they slipped into the chamber. Before them lay the ancient charts of the citadel, the key to unlocking the God Emperor's control. As Siona reached out to take the charts, the God Emperor's voice resonated through the chamber. "I expected you sooner, Siona." Siona stiffened. "Leto," she said, her voice steady. "My dear Siona, everything you do serves my purpose, my golden path." Leto II. Nayla stood frozen, torn between her duty and her allegiance to Siona. "My lord, I—" "Silence, Nayla," Leto commanded. "She must play her part, as must you." Siona grabbed the charts, her resolve unwavering. "We will not be pawns in your game." With a swift motion, she and Nayla turned and fled, the stolen charts in hand. Behind them, Leto's laughter echoed, a sound both triumphant and chilling. As they navigated the tunnels, Siona knew that the spark of rebellion had been ignited. The path was fraught with danger, but the fight for freedom had begun. The dance of power. In the grand hall of the God Emperor's palace, tension permeated the air. Leto II, the God Emperor, a fusion of man and sandworm, surveyed the room from his throne. Muneo, his aide, stood by, his concern palpable. Leto's gaze settled on Siona, Muneo's daughter, who faced him with a quiet intensity. "Siona," he addressed her, acknowledging her importance to his grand scheme without question. The assembly's attention was captured by Leto's presence as he spoke of destiny and humanity's potential to transcend fear and dependence. His words resonated with a promise of a daunting yet magnificent future. As Leto retreated, the courtiers and advisors were left to contemplate their part in the unfolding events. The God Emperor's vision continued to unfold, a silent observer to the currents of change within his empire. The Golden Path revealed. In the heart of the God Emperor's palace, Leto sat on his throne. His eyes reflected a wisdom that spanned millennia. Before him stood Huayna, her presence a stark contrast to the cold stone and the mechanical monstrosities that prowled the corridors. Leto's voice, though powerful, betrayed a hint of vulnerability. "You remind me of what it means to be human, Huai. You are the mirror that reflects my past, and the window to a future I cannot enter." Huai stepped closer. "And what of this future? Your golden path?" "It is the salvation of humanity," Leto explained. "A future where we are free from the shackles of prescience, where each person can carve their destiny without fear of annihilation." "But at what cost?" Why pressed? "Your transformation, this tyranny, is it necessary?" "Every step I take is for the greater good, the oppression, the control. It is to unite us, to prepare us for the scattering that must come." Why nodded slowly. "And your emotions, the ones you've suppressed for so long?" "They are the sacrifice I make," Leto admitted. "But in you I find them stirring once more." In the shadows, Duncan Idaho watched the exchange, his expression a mix of awe and sorrow. He turned to Moneo, who stood beside him, his face etched with concern. "I serve the God Emperor, but I fear for Siona. She is the key to his plan, yet she is also the flame that could ignite a rebellion." Moneo replied to Duncan's unspoken question. As the conversation faded, Siona entered the chamber, her eyes fierce and determined. She approached Leto, her stride confident. "God Emperor," she addressed him boldly, "your path may be golden, but it is paved with the suffering of those you claim to save." Leto regarded her. "Siona, you are the tempest that will test my empire. But know this, the golden path is not for the faint of heart. It is a road forged in fire and walked with iron will." Siona met his gaze. "Then let the fire consume us both, for I will not walk your path blindly." The room fell silent. In that moment, the future of humanity hung in the balance, the outcome resting in the hands of a defiant daughter, and a God Emperor with a vision that stretched beyond the stars. The golden path lay revealed, a trail of hope and hardship intertwined, leading towards a destiny that only the bravest would dare to tread. The Empires Defiance. The balcony of the God Emperor's palace was a place where the air hung heavy with the weight of history. Siona stood there, contrasting sharply against the black uniform underneath. Her eyes, the color of the dunes at twilight, were fixed on Leto II, who sat before her in his cart, his face and hands illuminated by the soft light that seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere. "Lord Leto," Siona began, her voice steady despite the turmoil she felt inside, "you sit upon your throne, surrounded by the trappings of power, but do you not see? You've bound us with the very substance that flows through the Empire's veins." Leto II regarded her with an expression that was both inscrutable and deeply knowing. "Power is a curious thing, Siona. It can liberate as much as it can bind. The melange, the spice, is the chain you speak of." "Yes, the spice. You control it, and thus you control us," Siona replied, her fists clenching and unclenching at her sides. Leto's voice was calm, almost soothing. "The spice extends life. It expands consciousness. It is the foundation upon which my golden path is built. Without it, humanity would crumble." "But at what cost?" Siona challenged. "Our spirits are stifled, our wills bent to your designs. We are not free. In freedom, there is chaos. In control, there is order. My vision is one of survival, Siona, of a future where humanity thrives. Siona took a step forward, her defiance palpable. And what of our humanity now? What of our right to choose our own path? Leto II leaned forward, his eyes locking onto hers. You are here because you have chosen to be, because you are essential to the golden path. Your defiance, your strength, they are the very things I have nurtured in you. Siona's breath caught in her throat. You speak of nurturing, yet you manipulate and coerce. You've turned us into pawns in your grand game. A game that must be played for the greater good. You will see in time. You will understand why I have done what I have done. Moneo approached, his demeanor betraying a sense of urgency as he bowed respectfully. My lord, your attention is required. Leto II nodded, his gaze never leaving Siona. Thank you, Moneo. Attend to the matter. As Moneo departed, Siona's resolve hardened. I will not stand idly by while you play God. I will fight for our freedom, for our right to live as we choose. From the shadows, Duncan Idaho watched, his presence silent but vigilant. Leto II's response was a mere whisper, yet it carried the weight of centuries. And so you shall, Siona, in ways you cannot yet comprehend. With those enigmatic words, Siona turned and left the balcony, her mind racing with questions and possibilities. The confrontation had not provided her with the answers she sought, but it had ignited a spark within her, a spark that promised to set the Empire ablaze with defiance. The desert trial. The sun beat down mercilessly on the endless dunes of Arrakis, the heat a tangible force against Siona's skin. Clad in her Fremen stillsuit, she trudged through the sand, each step a battle against the shifting ground. Conserve your water, Moneo's voice echoed in her memory, a distant reminder of the life she had left behind. The stillsuit hugged her body, recycling every drop of moisture it could salvage. She remembered the old freeman ways her father spoke of, where survival hinged on such necessities. As night fell, Siona found solace under the twin moons of Arrakis. She lay on the cool sand, her thoughts wandering. A voice startled her. It is the way of the desert. It was Duncan Idaho, his figure emerging from the shadows. The conversation shifted to the trials ahead, the lessons of self-reliance and the importance of their cultural heritage. Siona felt the weight of her lineage, the legacy of the freeman that coursed through her veins. With the first light of dawn, Siona rose, ready to continue her journey across the desert, embracing the challenges that would shape her destiny. The rebellion's climax. The sun was setting over Tuono village, casting long shadows across the dusty streets. Duncan Idaho and Siona stood side by side, watching the horizon with a mix of anticipation and dread. Are you sure this is the only way? Siona asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Duncan nodded, his gaze fixed on the distant dunes. It's the only way to end his tyranny. Siona clenched her fists, the weight of their plan heavy on her shoulders. But what if we can't get close enough? We have to try, Duncan insisted. For Arrakis, for freedom. As night fell, the village grew quiet, but the pair remained vigilant. They knew that Moneo had sent them here to keep them away from the capital during Leto's wedding, but they also knew it was their chance to strike. In the cover of darkness, they met with Nayla, their trusted ally. Everything is prepared, she said, handing a device to Duncan. But remember, its use is perilous. Duncan accepted the device, feeling its weight in his hands. We understand the risks. Siona looked at the stars, thinking of the God Emperor's grand vision, the golden path. Tonight, we'll see if that vision holds true. The trio set out into the night, their hearts racing with the possibility of what was to come. They moved silently, avoiding the patrols until they reached the outskirts of the village where they hoped to encounter the worm's cart. Hiding behind a dune, they waited. Time seemed to stretch on forever until finally they saw it. the massive silhouette of the worm's cart against the starlit sky. "Now," Duncan whispered, and they sprang into action. Siona ran ahead, drawing the attention of the guards while Duncan readied the device. Nayla stood ready to assist, her eyes scanning for any sign of danger. As the cart drew closer, Duncan's resolve hardened. He could see Leto, the God Emperor, in the distance, his sandworm form a testament to his power. Siona's voice rang out, clear and defiant. "Leto, we stand against you." The God Emperor turned, his eyes finding Siona in the darkness. For a moment, everything was still. Then, with a cry of determination, Duncan activated the device. A bright light flashed, but it was quickly contained. When the light faded, the worm's cart continued on its path, unharmed. Siona and Nayla rushed to Duncan's side, their faces a mix of shock and confusion. "What now?" Siona asked, her voice trembling. Duncan looked at the path of the worm's cart, knowing that their actions had not altered the course they had hoped for. "We regroup," he said. "This isn't the end." Together, they turned back to the village, their resolve unshaken. They knew the Golden Path was still a distant dream, but it was one they were determined to pursue. The fall of the God Emperor. In the heart of Arrakis, the God Emperor's reign had been long and absolute, his control over the spice melange unchallenged. Siona, shaped by Leto to be the key to his golden path, saw only tyranny in his rule. A tyranny she vowed to end. She plotted in the shadows, determined to overthrow the despot. The day of reckoning came under Arrakis's scorching twin suns. Leto prepared to wed Huai Nori, the innocent whose existence defied his prescience. The wedding procession began with anticipation hanging in the air. Moneo watched, his heart heavy with the knowledge of what was to come, torn between his loyalty to Leto and his love for his daughter. The ceremony proceeded, the chants of the priests rising into the arid air. Leto's voice boomed across the sands, echoing the power of his empire. But as he spoke, a silent signal passed between Siona and her ally, setting their hearts racing. With a swift motion, a shockwave went through the crowd. "Leto," Siona called out, her voice steady. "Your reign ends now." Leto turned, his gaze meeting Siona's. A myriad of emotions passed between them. Anger, sorrow. Understanding. "Do what you must," he replied, his voice a rumble like the shifting sands. As the confrontation unfolded, Leto's body shuddered, his form beginning to crumble like the ancient dunes. Siona stood resolute as Leto fell, the empire he had built trembling. She and her ally, now fugitives in the empire they had helped reshape, fled into the desert, their hearts alight with the hope of a new dawn. The fall of Leto II marked not just the end of a reign, but a shift in the sands of Arrakis, a change in the winds of fate. The legacy of knowledge. In the ancient library, Siona stood with the minority, their faces illuminated by a single lamp. Before them lay the stolen journals of Leto II, filled with secrets the Holy Church sought to bury. "Why do they fear these words?" whispered Javid, the youngest among them. "Because knowledge is power," Siona replied. "These journals hold the truth about our past and show us a path different from the Church's teachings." "How can we be sure this is the truth?" Javid questioned. Duncan Idaho stepped forward. "These journals are Leto's legacy, a beacon for those who seek understanding." Siona opened the journal to a marked page, revealing a sketch of an Ixian navigation machine. "Leto urged us to find our own way," she said, pointing to the annotations. "We must share these teachings," Javid said with resolve. "We'll start by comparing myths and holy books with what's written here," Duncan suggested. "We'll organize secret gatherings to discuss Leto's ideas." And the church? Javid asked. We will face them when necessary, Siona stated. Our focus is on preserving this knowledge. The group, determined, knew the risks, but were driven by the promise of a future informed by truth. They were the new keepers of knowledge, the vanguard of the Golden Path. The legacy of knowledge was theirs to carry forward.